All right, everyone. This is the David Washington Show. I am your host, David Washington of JM Washington. We are your political innovators, and I'm going to cut to the chase here. With me is a friend, very special guest, Frank DeToma, a fellow Central Florida politico, a world of experience and knowledge. Frank, welcome to the David Washington Show.
David, thank you. Thank you for inviting me at this time. Yeah, we've been friends for a while. Our paths have crossed. We've been on the same side of campaigns, sometimes opposite sides. But I appreciate the invitation and glad to be part of it. This is a wonderful forum that allows us to discuss issues outside of typical channels. So I'm eager to get going.
And I appreciate it. Please share with my viewers and my listeners a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I've been a resident of, where to start? I've been a resident of Central Florida since 1981. So I've seen the good, the bad, the ugly, highs and lows here in Central Florida. Registered Democrat, ran several campaigns. Actually, I was my political background goes back to Young Democrats back in the 80s, state president, working on some campaigns, never ran for office, just never had that bug, but have always paid attention to what's going on here at a local level, at a state level, definitely the national level. And probably we've shaken our heads at many of the same problems.
Yes,
so,
yes.
But right now I am kind of taking a backseat from politics outside of this show and a few other actions, but I'm a healthcare recruiter, independent contractor, and I also am in the hospitality industry. So that's what led you to invite me here. I have some working knowledge of the hospitality industry since 1999, 2000 to the current day. So let's get going. Yes,
I think we have an excellent show ahead. I'll set the table. So a lobbyist for Orange County, Chris Carmody, covertly drafted a bill limiting Orange County Commissioner's authority over Visit Orlando's funding. State Senator Linda Stewart introduced the bill but faced criticism for Carmody's hidden involvement. Despite his failure, the bill prompted favorable funding discussions. Concerns arose regarding Carmody's loyalty and potential conflicts of interest. Orange County commissioners ultimately retained Visit Orlando's funding, but modified allocations. This episode highlights the transparency and accountability issues in the legislative processes. This is the David Washington Show, and we're ready. Let's go. I love it. I love it. All right, Frank, the floor is ours. Here we go. What is going on down at the County Administration Building? Gray Robinson, Visit Orlando Center, Linda Stewart. Talk about transparency. This has consequences.
Right. this is the transparency is the operative word here, and really controversy has followed Visit Orlando for years, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
Let's not forget the previous CEO George Agell and his $650,000 plus annual salary.
Wow.
I know he made a lot of money at Disney, but Disney's a publicly held company, accountable to the board of directors. You want to make money like that? Great. In the private sector, fantastic. In the public sector, where you are sucking at the teat of the taxpayer, it was unjustifiable. And when we had COVID, it all, it was exposed. Another controversial issue with Visit Orlando was the travel expenses. They've had that over the years, where first class travel, allegedly that's been changed. I know when I worked for Visit Orlando, we had to travel coach. I traveled coach to Denver. It was one of my last trips was to Denver, and that was coach. I think I got early access. That was about all I got. Another issue was a little more recently was with the U.S. Tennis Association, where they did not want to disclose their incentive. I think it was a marketing incentive here. So transparency is not a word that goes hand in glove with Visit Orlando. Unlike at the state level with Visit Florida. I don't want to be critical of some of the goings on in Tallahassee versus Orange County. Sure. We both know the people in question, the main players. I have great respect for Chris Carmody. I have respect for Linda Stewart. But I'll be honest that this was just a bad decision, a bad action, probably in heat of legislative filings in Tallahassee. And we all know that the lobbyists write the bills that senators and representatives submit.
Let's be honest, that's true.
Yeah, has been exposed time and time again to say that I've heard people say, well, it's stupid that doesn't, the senator have a staff that can write bills? Said they don't write bills, they really don't. A few may, but by and large, it's all submitted by the full-time bureaucracy in Tallahassee, and that is the lobbyists, period. Visit Orlando, this is just another shot across the bow. I think that our County Mayor, Jerry Demings, is going to really hold their feet to the fire. And Gray Robinson, perhaps, a little 50 lashes with more than a wet noodle, perhaps, maybe hold over the lucrative contracts. Or as I read, like you did, there may be a filing, an ethics complaint. That's probably the least serious, but telling that it was just bad judgment. Unfortunately, nothing's going to change until something changes. Whether it's the a filing of a complaint, whether it is a really looking at Visit Orlando's massive budget in compared to Visit Florida. The state agency was allocated, according to Florida Senate Bill Summary last year, SB 2500, only $80 million statewide.
Only 80. Wow.
Only $80 million for the state of Florida, the third largest state in the nation. Visit Orlando, only Orange County, not Osceola, not Seminole, not Brevard, just Orange County alone got what? 89 million, 80 to 90 that they're going to get. 103, I think, was a year ago, and they're just being trimmed. The Commissioner Myra Uribe's haircut barely nicked, barely nicked their scalp. Just we can go on. So your next question,
Frank, there's so many implications to what happened here. You and I, as politicals, we know, like you said, we know that a lot of the legislation are written by lobbyists. However, when the general public hears this, they're screaming transparency, what's going on, government corruption. But then there's the politics behind all this. You have, like you said, Gray Robinson having to deal with this, maybe an ethics complaint. And then there's Senator Stewart and what she politically has to deal with. I am, as a Democrat, and the mayor, Jerry Demings, as a Democrat, they're seeing themselves on opposite ends of this. And the idea that Senator Stewart may be running for District 3 commissioner in the near future in this election cycle, there's so many balls in the air, so many wheels turning.
Right.
What is going on? And this is just a political story that I think is going to grow.
It will. It will. There's always, come election time or in off years, you're going to see people jockeying. The term limits are up, and where she can go next. She's still viable, well liked. She's got a very strong base of support, very high name recognition. I frankly would be what I find strange is when she was on the county commission and did an admirable job. She hits all the right buttons, but she forgot, the main point of, or one of the main thrusts of the county commission is to keep fighting for home rule. That didn't come up until a few years ago when the other side kept bringing up home rule. But really it is important because now we have a state legislature, a governor that has backtracked on claims or philosophy of home rule. So here you've got Senator Stewart basically undermining home rule, where she fought for it, understood it, and now she's going to go back to it if she's going to run for District 3 again. Right. So, but it just shows some of the jockeying and the horse trading that goes on. Karen, I mentioned to you offline, I've accused her of carrying water for the Republicans of late, and whether we be Disney last month with Governor DeSantis, and now with Visit Orlando. Jumping back to COVID and jumping back to DeSantis, COVID highlighted the fragility of this tourism economy here in the state and here locally. Correct. Visit Orlando has a massive budget. I don't know why. I understand they spend 30% of their budget on marketing, which is higher than their debt service. You don't see that in really any other business. So where is this money going if we are not getting the shows that we're supposed to be getting here? What's Visit Orlando marketing doing? We have a large convention center that sits largely empty in the summertime, in the warmer months. I've talked to some of the show people, whether they're the DMCs, the actual operators of the shows. Why don't you come to Florida in the summertime? Oh, well, there's hurricanes. They're in Vegas when it's 120 degrees in the shade, with no complaints. They're up in the Northeast or in Seattle in the wintertime when there's snow. They're in San Diego and Los Angeles when there are the occasional earthquake. I think they have earthquakes as often as they have, or we have hurricanes as often as they have earthquakes, vice versa. Sure. So it's moved. What's our marketing team doing here? Are they getting quality shows and keeping that convention center occupied and getting heads to beds, keeping restaurants up and down I-Drive, Sand Lake, Universal and Disney areas full? Not in the summertime. They're not doing it, but they're making a lot of money. Going back to the political situation with the fight with Disney, where was Visit Orlando to defend tourism while we lost shows here? I worked the Grace Hopper show as one of the supervisors that came, and then of course that is the proto-feminist women in tech group, and they're not going to come here again. They're not going to come. They couldn't cancel because it was too close. I worked the NEA show, the teachers. They were protesting out at the convention center on I-Drive, DeSantis's policies, but they were here and they're probably not going to come back either. It was just like, we're here. Just, where is Visit Orlando now defending tourism? Our bread and butter, their bread and butter here. They were silent, but they're sucking at the teat of the tune of $100 million a year. Doing what? Disney's got its own budget. Universal's got its own budget. SeaWorld's got its own budget. Mm-hmm. Arguably, some of the medium-size attractions have their own budget. So what's Visit Orlando doing with this huge marketing budget? They should be supplementing. They should be paying for all the small mom and pop, small independent operators up and down Sand Lake, up and down iDrive and Universal Boulevard, and making sure that they have a budget, because Disney's bringing their own people in. They've got their global reach. Universal's got their global reach. So if anything, Visit Orlando should have a commensurately smaller budget, and just piggyback on what other people are filling the holes that Disney and Universal and SeaWorld aren't reaching. Period.
Frank, to speak to that, I've noticed when I'm on iDrive, there's a disparity between the older portion of iDrive versus the newer portion of iDrive. And the southern portion of iDrive is more vibrant and larger, bigger attractions in hotels, restaurants, etc. But on the northern end, there's a neglect. And at one point, there was an attraction called Roboland in the older part of iDrive, and had the opportunity to talk to some people who had financial stakes in Roboland being there, and they were talking about the difficulty of attracting those Visit Orlando dollars and eyes to that portion of iDrive, and that would be something that, given the opportunity, if I was a commissioner, would pay close attention to. And I think it would be something that even I know that former commissioner, oh my God, I can't believe
Sam Ings.
Not Sam Ings, County Commissioner Victoria Sipling.
Oh, Victoria Sipling, yes.
Yes,
right.
I know that she wanted to address that issue and really push that issue. And I'm hoping that current Commissioner of District 6, Mike Scott, does that. But there is that disparity that continues year after year after year. And why is that?
Well, two things. And again, this goes back several years now. North iDrive, a few blocks up from Sand Lake, that's the city of Orlando. Okay. And the rest of it is the county. And you've heard of downtown Orange County, which is the convention center area, versus downtown Orlando. So that has to do with the signage, the infrastructure there, like the sign ordinances. It does look a little bit more rundown, but that'll change. It is older. You don't have the larger hotel footprints, but Universal is going to make a big difference with what they did with their the old Wet and Wild property that they redeveloped and put the new hotels there.
That's correct.
Then Epic is going to be huge. Yes. In redefining what North iDrive is going to become, because you're just going to have all that spillover from Epic, and it's going to be sandwiched between the two parks, North iDrive all the way up to Oak Ridge. And I think there's going to be some changes there, but it's going to take some planning. There may have to be some condemnations. I know that Orange County's had some plans, South iDrive with transportation. I'm sure the city of Orlando has done the same, but they have to look at it holistically. There's iDrive Chamber of Commerce does an excellent job in getting the news out. Maria Triscari, acquaintance of mine, I get notifications all the time. So they are doing a very, very good job in supporting these smaller businesses, making sure people know what's going on, and incorporating people to participate in their events and their leadership class, which I took several years ago myself. So that's going to change. That's going to change. And I think it's going to be because of the multi-billion-dollar Universal investment. It'll happen on its own, but it'd be great if the city of Orlando kind of works hand in hand to say, while this is going on, can we do away with some buildings here, perhaps buy them out, condemn,
Right.
Nicer storefronts, change the signage, widen sidewalks, something like that. Run a trolley. Well, they have a trolley, but maybe some other pedestrian and a mass transportation combination there. It's a vibrant area. I've hung out on both sides of iDrive, so I like it.
Frank, going back to home rule, we see a county commission that is very rooted in their communities, in the needs of their communities, and not so much the larger interests of developers and businesses. Is that going to be a detriment to the growth of our amusement parks, our theme parks, our iDrives, and other magnets of financial growth to Orange County if we're saying, hey, we want more accountability from organizations like Visit Orlando, from the big attractions and things like that?
Are you saying that there should be more financial stake from some of the smaller operators and businesses into the tourism budget, or are you we're conflicting two things? Home rule
Yes.
is going to affect how we address these problems and address the transformation of iDrive.
Yes, that's more the latter part of what you're asking is more where I'm getting at. With such a focus now on addressing the transportation needs here in Orange County, the homelessness issue, with such a focus on local control and using the tourism district.
Got it. Thank you. Thanks for the clarification.
To
Yes.
address those issues.
$100+ million goes a long way. As we said, they have Visit Orlando has a larger budget than Visit Florida. When Epic comes online in 2025, it's estimated, I got a figure earlier, it's the TDT is going to be over $400 million in Orange County. At the current ratio, the current allotment that Visit Orlando gets, they're going to get over 25% of that.
Yes.
Right off the bat.
Unbelievable.
That is more money again than Lynx gets for transportation, more money than basically anything except for the large structures here in Central Florida. By large structures, I mean the Citrus Bowl, or what's it called now? Camping World.
Camping World, yes.
Dr. Phillips, the Arena, Kia Center. And obviously debt service. So that is a huge budget, a huge amount of money that can go a long way. Now, there's a law in place that was written decades ago, and let's stress decades ago, when we were anxious, we were happy, we saw good things abounding from tourism coming in, and we're just going to keep promoting and feeding the beast that is going to, or feed the golden egg, the goose that gives us the golden egg. But the problems that have arisen since that law was written, nobody could foresee. Chronic homelessness, a deteriorating transportation system, and I'm not talking about Sunrail or Brightline. I'm just talking about some of the infrastructure here. Lynx, which needs to expand. Lynx needs to increase their service. So a lot of these problems that a big city has, a big metropolitan area has, we want it to grow, but we don't want to address those problems. You and I drive on these streets all the time. The quality of the roads, the quality of the infrastructure is horrible. We are B, C, D roads. I don't, that's true. And that's just as a driver. I'm not going to go through the engineering, grading system. I know when I'm on a road, there's potholes that are never filled, degraded surfaces on I-4. The DOT says, well, we're going to get to it when we're widening I-4. Great. Okay. What are you doing now? While, and I ride, I drive a small car. I drive, a two-wheel vehicle around town. And I'm like, somebody's going to get killed. This is going to flip, whatever.
Yeah.
Those dollars can go and solve many, many problems, can alleviate many, many problems. If we could just make the changes, in the law, and then change the people that write the laws, people that enact those laws in Tallahassee and locally. We have a couple strong commissioners here that are willing to take that fight and are willing to bring it up. But again, the powers that be are standing firm.
Yes, they are.
They're standing firm, and because there's a lot of money at stake. But it's like, where is all this money going? Where is $110 million going, or now $90 million going? Where it's $10 million more than the state of Florida, which we know where that money's going, but we don't. It's like a large portion of Visit Orlando's budget. Their allocation is a black budget. You know the term black budget from Washington.
Yes.
It's you just write it, you just sign off on it. It's there, and they do with it what they want.
Correct.
Their money, they spent anywhere from, I think it went from 2.5 million in travel to over $7 million. If that isn't a black budget item, I don't know what is. There's less people. The team I was working on has been dismantled. So why is the budget larger now than it was pre-COVID?
We just want some accountability, some transparency.
No, that's exactly what it is. So that being said, a 30% reduction. The shot was fired by Commissioner Uribe a few months ago and fought. So it's going to happen again. This is just the first salvo in a longer budget fight. The gloves are off, and I'd say good, because somebody's got to address the real problems here with the workforce in the largest employer, the largest segment of our economy, that there's a huge disparity. The largest employing segment contributes to the impoverishment of our community, perpetuates it. You can read any article by Scott Maxwell from the Sentinel going back years talking about this. Other cities, other convention visitors bureaus contribute something to the community. And we're not talking about Visit Orlando's dine out, their month of dining, big whoop-de-doo, a few dollars of every, meals bought at these select restaurants goes to homelessness. Great. Okay. That's what you're doing once a month. It's like, okay, I'm going to feed the homeless on Thanksgiving. All right, what are you doing the other 364 days a year? Right. How are we addressing homelessness the other 364 days a year, giving them meals? I sling out, I sling out potatoes and turkey on one day a week, one day a year. So transparency, and just that is not Visit Orlando's MO, and hasn't been. And we have not held them accountable. The powers that be have not held Visit Orlando accountable.
Wow.
I wish it wasn't that case. I wish it wasn't the story, but that really is. And as a former employee there, it's not that I've got an axe to grind. I'm out there still, glad that we've got a tourism economy, but how much of it is really due to Visit Orlando, and how much is due to just the fact that this has been the game for 50 years here since Disney came, and the multi-billions of dollars that Universal, Disney, and SeaWorld spend, every decade in getting people to come here. Do we really need to match them dollar for dollar? No, we should be picking up where Disney and Universal and SeaWorld left off.
I agree. I agree with you, Frank. This has been educational, and hopefully this will lead people to, one, be more civically engaged, and two, keep their eye on and request that Visit Orlando, and also county and state government and city government, let's not forget the city of Orlando, be more transparent and be more accountable. Yes. Are there any final thoughts you may have for our listeners and viewers?
No, really. I mean, you really hit that. I mean, all politics is local. We're right now at this point in time, we're worrying about the presidential race and, what's going on in Congress. And yes, that has an existential effect on us as a country and how we're viewed. But, when Trump does this, does it affect us? Does it affect our jobs? Does it put food on our table? Does it take food away from our table? When Biden does this, or when, Speaker Johnson does that, okay, this is just noise. What is happening? Is it, putting food on my table? Is it paving my road? Is it making my journey to work down an I-drive any safer? Is it putting more cops on the street, to make sure that people aren't, whatever it may be? And the answer is an unresounding, it doesn't really matter. The answer is no, it doesn't matter, because what really matters are the local state issues that unfortunately very few people pay attention to. And that's why it's good that you have this program here. I know with your partner, you have your other podcast, and that's what that does a great public service. Really, I hope more and more people participate.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Frank, if our community, your community, wants to get a hold of you or continue the conversation, are you on social media? Is there a way to reach you?
I am, yes. On Facebook, just Frank DeToma here in Winter Park. LinkedIn, Frank DeToma, Evolve Healthcare. I'm not on, I have Twitter, and not Reddit.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate it.
I'm available on social media there. So yes, look forward to it, and just keep the fight, keep the good fight going there, David.
Excellent. Thank you. We're going to continue this conversation. I know with our other podcasts, we're going to be talking about this also. And
sure.
Kind of hold Senator Linda Stewart's feet to the fire, because there's some other bills that she supports, and we're like, wow, Senator Stewart.
Yeah. Surprise.
Exactly.
There's, again, that's the horse trading that goes on. She's been good on the big progressive issues for us.
Yes, that's true.
But sometimes, again, are some of those issues really, do they put food on my table?
Thank you, Frank.
Do they put food on do they take food from my table? And the answer is an unresounding no. But when I see that you are playing footsie with some people that have definitely done a number to keep us, impoverished, if I may say that, fight against living wages here, fight against equality, fight against transportation initiatives, and then now all of a sudden you're carrying their water. It raised a number, and that's just the nature of the nature of the game and how the game is played. And sometimes it's a little distasteful, and you have to take a shower. Yeah.
Boy, have I taken many of the showers through over the 35 years in this business. So
Me too. Now I'm trying to stay cleaner and focusing on other things. But always a pleasure talking to you and I. Yeah, we're political animals, and we have it in our blood, so it does come out and it gets our fire going. It gets our passion going. But yes. But thank you again, David. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm sure again, our community, our Jay and Washington community, really appreciate this. And for our community, I want to say thank you for watching and being a part of this excellent podcast episode with me and my friend Frank DeToma. Again, we are your political innovators, and we want you to engage with us. So comment, let us know what you think. We want to know what you think. Please comment. We don't care about your feelings. We want to talk about the facts. And that's where the conversation.
We'll even take that. We'll even take a little. We'll even take a few barbs here and there. Because obviously we're both on the left, so we'll probably get some of that. But that's okay. It's okay as long as it's done on a intellectual level. I have no problem with that.
Indeed. Frank, thank you so much again. I really appreciate it. We're going to have to do this again, and we're going to have to go out for a drink again.
Absolutely. You got it.
Okay. Thank you
Peace.
so much. This is the David Washington Show, everyone. Frank DeToma, we're out of here. Take care.